I'm David Mason, the Director of Public Health for the town of Sandwich, and today we're doing public service announcement number 22. We'll be discussing the upcoming high school graduation. We have Pam Gould, the Superintendent of Schools, with us today, and Chief Burke. Chief Burke will first speak to the numbers in the COVID issue, and then we'll have a discussion to let you know what we're doing with high school graduation.
Morning, Dave. Thank you. So as of today, 17th of June, 2 positive cases, 95 recoveries, 3 deaths, though I do want to emphasize the 2 positive cases are assisted living facilities, and the way the state classifies a positive, if your legal address is in Sandwich, we get the positive notifications, but both of these cases are out of town. So I feel confident we are at 0 at the moment, even though we're counting these 2 cases for now. And again, the 95 recoveries and 3 deaths. A couple other things to emphasize. The special election was May 19th, I believe. We're 29 days out from the election. We did not have a significant uptick in numbers. In fact, they went down. So I think all the preventative measures that were taken for that election held, which is good news. And town meeting was Monday night, and again, I think we had a good turnout. Everything was socially distant, and we're hoping for the same type of numbers coming out of the town meeting. So overall, I'm very pleased with both the trend in the numbers and how people have been following the requirements for social distancing and facial coverings.
I can't think of the dates specifically, Chief, but the state of Massachusetts is putting out 2 days of free testing,
Yep.
But that can be found on...
Yep, so it's today and tomorrow. You go to the state's website, the 4 on-Cape locations, the CVS in East Falmouth, and then all the Outer Cape Health Service locations, Harwich, Wellfleet, and Provincetown. They do ask that you reach out ahead of time for an appointment, but they will take walk-ins, and that is for people that have been in a large gathering within the last 2 weeks, which town meeting would technically count as for any of the residents that were there. There are some locations off Cape in Plymouth County, but again, it's all referenced on the website.
And I think it's important to note, just to reiterate what Chief spoke to as far as, why we haven't seen an increase specifically following the election is that people are following the protocol. They're being considerate of others. They're wearing the facial coverings. So we've seen the decline in numbers. Please don't get comfortable with that means that you can change your habits. Keep the habits up that you're used to. Assume that everyone has it. And this is what's guiding how we are designing the election in the past, town meeting, how that was handled, and how we're handling the high school graduation. So it's important to follow those. It's also important to note that with these events, why we're planning them now and getting them done, as far as we felt it was important, the COVID team felt it was important to initiate these prior to the insurgence of off-Cape traffic and the tourism coming down, because it will come in. You've seen the numbers. You've seen the traffic coming down. So we want to do it before we may see an uptick in numbers, possibly based on people coming to the Cape. So we're going to start with Pam Gould, the Superintendent of Schools, to talk to us about graduation. So when is graduation, and what's the game plan here?
Sure. So originally we know it was supposed to be June 6th, so that was kind of off the table. So in consultation with Mr. Burke and you, Mr. Mason, we had decided on Monday, June 29th. I think that was originally a date that we thought that the governor would be beginning his phase 3. But we're not quite sure that that's going to happen, but we all still felt, for the reasons that you just said, Dave, that would still be a good date. We're also trying to be somewhat considerate of our graduates that might be going into the military. And so it's trying to find that fine line between health and safety, clearly, most importantly, and then the ability to try to have as many of our graduates participate. Excellent.
And as far as, so we met out at the high school, Chief Burke, myself, Chip Riley from Emergency Services, as far as just, a quick walk through how it's going to happen. We do have a written plan in place.
Yep.
Chief Burke will speak to that, but just a walk through. What will it be like?
Let me jump back for 1 second, too, to talk about why this plan. schools all over the state, obviously all over the country, are dealing with how to deal with a graduation, because we desperately want to try to make it special for our students that have gone through all these years of education. And they've been dealt kind of a raw deal for this last quarter. There's no question about that. So there were districts doing a variety of different things. Totally virtual, kind of that drive-through graduation, and then figuring out, was there any way possible to do what could be considered a traditional graduation? Our students were very clear that they didn't really not want a virtual, understandable, and they would prefer not to have done a drive-through. Other districts are doing it. It's been successful. I don't know if you saw, Plymouth did a beautiful one on the waterfront last week. It was gorgeous. But we said we wanted to try, so that's the approaching you people to see from a health perspective, would we be able to do it? So now we'll lead to where we're at. So in order to be able to do this and do it well and do it safely, we had to put some parameters out. So obviously, each of our graduates are invited to attend. They can bring 2 guests and 2 guests only. That's really important to us, that we limit the number of people. And they will arrive in 1 car only. Again, limiting the amount of interactions that people will have with each other. Every person, unless medically you can't, will be required to have a mask, so that's kind of a non-negotiable for us. And then what'll happen is the car will drop off the graduate in the bus loop in the front of the high school, those of you that are familiar with the high school, and then they'll proceed into the parking lot area where they will be parked into a spot. Believe they're doing every other spot to continue to make sure that they keep that distancing from each other. And then they will be guided to a spot. The guests will be guided to a spot up into the bleachers where it will be marked, assuming 2 people from each family. That'll be marked, and thankfully our bleachers are big enough that they can do that. And then we will usher in the graduates, who it'll be a little bit different for us. We typically just have the graduates on the track, kind of squished in a little bit. We are going to use the field. We've rented a stage so that the parents or the family members in the stands will easily be able to see everybody, and that the students will also. And everything will be, in a sense, touch-free, right? The kids will be there. We had purchased little masks for them that sandwich class of 2020, so we're encouraging them to wear their masks. Mostly we thought this would be 20 years from now, just kind of funny when they open their yearbook and find this and laugh, and they're the class that had to wear a face mask to graduation. So as you can see the map up on there on the stage here, the students will be exited in. It'll be very military-like, but I think this was the only way that we all felt comfortable in order to do as much safety as possible, but still be able to do this outside.
I think the key point that very military style is key, and I guess, and I'll pick up with Chief Burke on that, as far as the origination of this idea was taken ultimately from the military.
Military in the state police graduation, recruit graduation that was held about 6 weeks ago was kind of a template also to be able to do this. And I think it's important for people to understand that the governor's guidance states July 20th. For outdoor graduation.
Right.
So, but we feel we're in a position, both with the numbers trending down, which we've discussed, but also with people still in the somewhat compliant mode, that we can do this. And I think it's important to emphasize June 29th is the date, but we set aside Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night as rain dates, right? So subsequent nights, if the weather is inclement, we'll just punch it to the next night. The 2-person limit is key. And again, some people have approached me and said, well, that's not fair. And we're trying to make it, we do not want to be the example of what not to do. Right. And with this, we are taking a chance. I've told parents that. We're clearly aware of it, but it's worth it. I think kids need, and Pam emphasized this too, they've had some things taken away, but I think we've all graduated high school. We've all been in that graduation mode where it's important to walk across the stage, actually receive a diploma, be with your classmates, have family there. What family does after the graduation, that's totally on them. All we can control is what's going on for the graduation itself. And the fact that we're able to do this June 29th, it's been on our radar from way back, I think is really important. So I ask the parents out there, regardless of what you think of the virus, we're not asking for your opinion on what you think about the virus. All we're asking is you be respectful to follow what we have put forward, because it does reference us in the end. And I think if we can follow the rules here, I think it'll be a great evening for everybody to be able to celebrate, and especially for the kids, because it's really about the kids having that graduation. So kudos to the school staff for putting together the plan, for us to be able to review it and support it, and we support it wholeheartedly. So I ask for the cooperation of the parents in this. Please, follow the rules that we have set up. When the graduation is over and you go home, and then you do what you have to do. But there's going to be a lot of eyes on this, because we are bucking the trend a little bit, and we want to show other communities you can do this right with the cooperation of not only the students and the municipal government, school department, but also the citizens. And the fact that our numbers are 0, technically right now, we want to keep it that way. So again, it's an impassioned plea from me and the COVID team to, a lot of people put a lot of effort into this. Let's make sure we execute it correctly and give the kids what they deserve.
Well, I think I want to follow up, Chief, on you started with to take a chance. What we're taking a chance on, not the fact we're very comfortable that this can be put in place and gone through without an issue. Taking a chance is on those who are the recipients of this, the students, the parents. We're taking a chance that they're going to be compliant. I believe they will. I think Superintendent Gould feels they will also. We're just emphasizing that there's people putting, a lot of effort into this, and we need your compliance on this.
And 3 things I want to bring up to, especially what you just said, Dave, is that sometimes we forget too, the graduation ceremony itself is a privilege, not a right, right? The students are entitled to their diploma, and some are choosing not to participate for whatever reasons they don't want to. That is absolutely well within their right. We're trying to make that special anyway, and so Mr. Mulcahy has been working with some of those students that want to do that. The other piece about the 2 guests, we will be live streaming, so those that cannot attend, we appreciate that too, but it will be live streamed at home through SCTV, and that'll be important for everybody to know. And then the third thing was to just remind, when we talk about the timeline, is that right after the governor's kind of recommendations came out, I did talk with somebody at the state level to just say this is where we were at and what we were thinking. And their comment to me was, as long as your people in town, your health department, and I had mentioned Chief Burke, that they said is if they feel comfortable, then you do what you need to do. And that was really for assurance for me too, to be quite honest.
Based on the plan, I'm saying I'm comfortable. Yep. Chief Burke?
Yep.
And after watching town meeting, you guys did a phenomenal job setting that up. It was wonderfully run, and so I can't imagine we won't be having the same thing.
Very good.
Kids get to have a graduation ceremony.
Well, and we're looking forward to that. I think they're owed that.
Now we pray for no rain.
Yes, exactly. So any other thoughts or comments?
I was just going to say, from the team's perspective, we had 3 things that we had planned starting April 1st that were on our radar. One was the May 19 special election. Number 2 was having a town meeting, and this is the 3rd. And we're 2 for 2 so far, and again, I agree with Dave that I feel very confident that we can execute this graduation. I'm very happy that we're able to do it. I'm happy for the kids and for the parents, because I really think it is important for everybody's mental health that we execute this and the kids get the opportunity to celebrate this achievement with their friends.
It is important. Now, I'll also note, as far as what we hadn't pointed out either, as far as the steps that we've taken during this crisis, is the fact that we are the only town in the Commonwealth who are open to the public.
Correct.
And as far as we have staff in place, and we've put protocols in place and physical measures in place, so we've taken those steps, and we've been operating now for 2 weeks.
Weeks, yep.
So, we've been comfortable with that. Our staff is comfortable with that also. So again, we adhere to the protocol. Steps have been put in place in order to make this a successful event.
I agree 100%, and I think I trust our kids. This class is fabulous, so I actually don't really have any doubts that they'll be able to do this and do it well. If you had to pick a group, this could be the group, so.
Very good.
And one other thing I'll mention, just to put it on people's radars, is now we get through graduation, I think the next thing we look at, Pam's mentioned this, reentry of the schools.
Yep.
So we shift our focus, we get through these 3 major events, and then July 1, we sit down and we start looking at what is school going to look like, and that gives us time to plan and prepare for that.
So in that same vein, we have, and we've had one meeting already, I have a reentry task force there's 36 of us on it, which is a bit much, but it represents all the constituents, the parents, the teachers, the administration, the paraprofessionals, the secretaries, et cetera, nursing. And so we have another meeting tomorrow afternoon. We're continuously getting some guidance from the state. We'd like a little bit more, a little faster, but we're trying to bide our time a little bit. So I agree with you, I think once, and I think I'd said to both of you at some point, I don't need to put you on this so that you meet every week, but at some point you will be invited because I think your words will be significant in your knowledge. So we will definitely want to do that.
Very good. All right. Well, just a couple things before we wrap up here, just to put on the radar, as the phasing continues with the state, churches are now open. And I just want to remind all that there's protocols in place that churches have to adhere to. One of the things in particular is the fact that facial coverings are required in church. So I don't, regardless of what is said in the media, as Chief Burke had said, we don't care about your opinion. That's what's required for the protection of others. Also, as we proceed, one of the big things we said initially is, this town was one of the only towns that kept our beaches open. Our beaches have been open, and it was up to the behavior of those people. Next PSA will be with for the opening of the beaches. We'll be discussing that. But keep in mind, at the time, we've received a lot of complaints about trash and whatnot. We'll be discussing this next week. Come on, let's be responsible people. We've kept the beaches open. Let's not be those people that are creating a problem. We don't want to close those beaches down. It's up to you. So meanwhile, we'll go with wear your facial coverings and be considerate of others and be safe. Thank you.